Back-to-back defeats on the road have put the brakes on Rovers' recent good run of form, and now they return to the Keepmoat Stadium to take on Accrington Stanley in Sky Bet League One. This is one of the games in hand that Darren Moorside have at their disposal, with the original fixture postponed on Boxing Day. It's Rovers against Accrington Stanley from 7 p.m. Good evening and welcome back to the Keepmoat Stadium, and thank you for joining us for our pre-match build-up to the game against Accrington Stanley in Sky Bet League One. Joining me for the show tonight, Doncaster Rovers reporter for the Free Press Liam Hoden and Rovers winger Josh Sims. Josh, I want to start with you, of course, back in the team on Saturday off the bench. Not the performance or the result everyone would have wanted, but I imagine from a personal point of view it was nice to get some minutes into the legs.
Yeah, it was. Like you say, you touched on the poor result, which it was. It was a poor performance as well. For me personally, it was nice to be back out there, get some minutes in my legs, and everything with the hamstring was fine, so it's good news. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow night will be a better result. I
assume over the past few weeks it's been a case of ticking boxes and getting your body ready for that. Was the next box afterwards making sure there were no reactions in the hamstring?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the type of player that I am and the injury that I had, I guess it's it's an injury that you kind of feel like it could happen again if you haven't done the correct rehab and like you say, tick the right boxes. But luckily for me, there's been no reaction throughout the injury in the rehab. So for me, I could just sort of focus now on the football side of it rather than in the back of your mind having the injury, which is always good.
Tell us a little bit about how much enjoyment you've had in getting back in with the boys. I know it's probably a couple of weeks now, isn't it, that you've been back in training, like we said, building yourself back up, but the move came about. I think all the fans were buzzing about it. So to get back in with the lads, what was that like?
Yeah, no, the lads got a good crack, and I think the day that I came back into the car park, they were all blowing their horns and flashing their lights. So I got along with the lads from minute one, from when I first came up here, and they're a great bunch of lads and the staff as well. Everyone's been brilliant with me from the very start. So I was more than happy to come back, and I was happy to see everyone again.
Of course, the hamstring injury came at a pretty disappointing time, didn't it? Just as that run was getting going before Christmas. What was your sort of state of mind like after that? It must have been really gutting for you. Obviously, at that time, people didn't know whether you played your last game for the club or not.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it came at a bad time for me. I mean, I think I would have still had maybe 4 or 5 games left here anyway. So, yeah, it came at a bad time, which I think they always seem to do. It's never nice to get injured, but I was playing good football, and so was the team. So yeah, it's never nice to get injured. It's never a good time. But luckily for me, it wasn't as bad as what I initially might have thought, or what it could have been. So luckily I'm back now and can crack on.
Liam, Josh was one of a number of fresh faces coming in January. Do you feel like Darren Moore is still maybe trying to figure out how many of those fit into his best starting 11 at present?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to see a lot of change anyway because of the schedule that we're on at the minute. Such quick turnaround between games and no real time for resting up. So there's going to be a lot of changes in the team. But I thought it was interesting on Saturday as well. It's not about just finding out which ones are the best ones in the team. It's about where exactly in the team they're going to play. We saw John Bostock drop deeper and allow Matt Smith to go a little bit further forward, and I thought that looked really, really positive. So maybe that's one that we're going to see more of going forward.
It's been a disappointing week or so on the road. It's taken the wind out of Rovers' sails a little bit. How much do they need a performance here tonight to get back to winning ways?
You don't want things to drag on. You don't want a disappointing one to drag on. It's been back-to-back disappointing performances as well. They've not been narrow defeats. So you kind of want to shake it down, get back on and get back to winning ways.
Josh, do you sense that there's that belief we can get back to winning ways as quickly as possible? Because it's hard to forget the run we were on just before those 2 losses.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to look back at the previous games and performances that we've done. And even if you look at the table, the position that we're in, I mean, arguably we're still in the best position out of all the clubs in the league anyway. So I think it's difficult when you've gone on back-to-back defeats to be negative and you kind of forget where we've come from. But I think we just need to quickly get rid of that and get back to winning ways, get back to being what we're good at, and that's a passing team. We dominate almost every other team that we play against, and we score a lot of goals, and we just need to get back to that, and hopefully we can do that against Accrington.
Of course, this is one of Rovers' games in hand, but Accrington are one of the only teams in the league to have played less than Rovers. It's a bit of a weird campaign so far, isn't it?
Very much so, very much. It's hard to know exactly at what point you're going to reach where it feels like everybody's on level pegging. Perhaps it won't be until the final couple of games of the season, but we'll see how everything pans out.
There's a lot made to games in hand, Josh, whether they're good to have or whether you'd rather have points on the board. I suppose the biggest thing is taking advantage of them when they come around.
Yeah, so it's a debate that you could argue about, but I think the way that we play, and I mean, take away these previous couple of games, I mean, even if we had the games in hand or points on board, I think we'd back ourselves to get those points in games in hand anyway. So like I said, we just need to get back to winning ways, and I think these games coming up are massive, and hopefully we can get back to winning.
The game at Sunderland was quite bizarre at the weekend, wasn't it? Had just about everything. Here are the goals and the major incidents from that one. There are the highlights from that one, and don't forget you can watch the full 90 minutes tonight by purchasing an iFollow Rovers match pass for just £10 and watch the boys back in action here at the Keepmoat Stadium. But for that one on Saturday, Liam, pretty much rinse and repeat every goal that Sunderland scored, wasn't it? A really disappointing one overall. Very
much so. I think individually those goals have been disappointing, but the fact that, as you said, just a repeat 4 times over, very disappointing from that one. Mistakes that should have been cut out, more protection given out wide, stop those crosses coming in. Really disappointing from that perspective.
Josh, is it a case of just having to brush it off when a player like McGeady, with all the balls in, is putting it as a winger? Watching that, we touched on it a bit earlier on, didn't we? That he was unstoppable, wasn't he? But the balls into the box needed dealing with that little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, there were 4 terrible goals to concede. I mean, to concede one of them, let alone 4 of them, I think. I mean, we didn't learn from the mistakes, and we didn't learn from the first goal, second goal, then the third goal. I mean, it's just, you can't let the ball get into the box that easy. Again, McGee's a good player, so you can't give him the time that he had on the ball. I mean, the standards that we've set ourselves over the season, we fell well below them against Sunderland.
And although it was 3-0 at half-time, when the goal went in for Rovers early in the second half, you started to think, didn't you, that momentum may shift, and I know you were getting ready to come on, and straight away it's 4-1, isn't it? So a hammer blow dealt there.
Yeah, and I think when we finish the game and you look back and think, actually, we could have got something out of it, and that's the crazy thing. I mean, being 3-0 down in 30 minutes, it should be down and out of the game. I mean, we've kept ourselves in it second half. I guess it's always easier to come out when the game's almost gone. People play a bit more confidence. You're not as nervous, I guess, which we should be doing that from the start. At the start of the game, from the first whistle. But we dragged ourselves back in it, and we missed a couple of penalties, had a couple of other half chances. So, I mean, overall, second half we played well, I think, and I think we had the majority of the ball. We looked so much better.
When you have conceded at half-time 3 goals that were pretty much exactly the same. What's the message from the manager? Because it's not like you need to look deep into anything. It's fairly obvious, isn't it, where the goals are coming from?
Yeah, and I think that's the most disappointing thing about it. I think you look at the first half, I know we're 3-0 down, but they didn't break us down. I think the goals that we've let in are simple goals that really shouldn't happen. I think they had another chance that McGeady played one of their players through and goal, and Ellery made a good save. But bar that, I think they didn't really break us down, which is the most disappointing thing, because we threw the game away in those 30 minutes to sloppy goals. I mean, we even had a chance ourselves, a couple of chances. So that's the most disappointing thing about it, is just how easy we let them score.
Weird how football works, Liam. A few weeks ago, it was Ellery Balcom making 2 penalty saves. This time around on Saturday, it was Rovers missing 2 penalties. And like Josh said, a game where you lose 4-1, on paper it looks a bit of a hammering, but Rovers could have quite easily taken something from the game on another day.
I think that was one of the most disappointing aspects of the whole thing, with the fact that it wasn't a game where one side was that much better than the other. It was so open early on, and it was just those, Rovers had a good spell at 2-0, and you're thinking they can get back into it, and then they concede another sloppy goal. It's just the timing of the goals did them, and it allowed Sunderland to sit back in a little bit, but it could have been so different very, very easily.
There's been no blame attached from Darren Moore on the penalty take, because of course that says a lot about him as a manager, doesn't it? That it's all about they were willing to step up and take one, rather than the fact that they missed it.
I think you'd have been probably looking at Faye Okunabiri to take one. He's took one before. He wasn't on the pitch, of course, so you're looking round to see who's putting their hand up, and they did. Fair play to them, to John and Jason. So yeah, you can't really throw too much blame at them.
You may have seen on social media that Captain Tom Anderson is our expert summariser on iFollow Rovers for the game tonight. Here's a look at how Danny Amos got on when he had the mic against Oxford United.
For shins of Okunabiri into the path of Richards. Okunabiri through on goal. Great Okunabiri with a brilliant finish. Less than 2 minutes into the second half. Fouled by Richards. Finished by Okunabiri. 11 goals for the season now for the Rovers, number 9. And Rovers lead by 2-1, Danny.
Get in there. Brilliant finish from Faye. That absolutely fantastic from Faye.
Off the shins of Okunabiri. Back through by Richards.
Fantastic.
Buried by Okunabiri.
Another assist for Taylor Richards as well, adding to his tally, but score. Come on, Rovers.
Going behind his man Ruffles. Taylor towards the edge of the area. Richards, James and Okunabiri in the box. Taylor tries a left-footed John Taylor against the play, drove in field and got a left-footed shot away, which seemed to catch Oxford by surprise. But with 31 minutes gone, Rovers lead by 1-0, Danny.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. The pass from Matt there was unbelievable. I think we saw one last week, didn't we? A little fizzer from last week from Matt, and yeah, that one was just as good. Puts Tails through, and he still had a lot of work to do, but absolutely fantastic.
Just outside the penalty area, trying to get half a yard for a shot, maybe. Brilliant from Richards through the legs of Gorin. From Taylor Richards, it was always no work through the legs of Gorin and fired beyond Stevens. And within 6 minutes of the second half, it's Rovers 3, Oxford 1.
Oh, that was absolutely unbelievable. Absolute majestic, that from Taylor Richards.
Unbelievable.
That was fantastic, that unbelievable. If Messi does that, he's talked about it for years, isn't it?
It's finished here at the Keynote Stadium in Sky Bet League 1. Rovers 3, Oxford 2.
You Reds.
So Tom, next up on iFollow tonight. Josh, you must have been impressed with some of the lads' efforts in recent weeks.
Yeah, I think Danny really took to the co-commentating. And if the football career doesn't pan out for Danny, hopefully it does. He looks like he's got a career in commentating.
We've had quite a few of the boys come on there, and yourself on here. We've had Faye and Cam on the show as well, Andy Butler earlier on in the season. It shows that the lads are up for doing anything off the field as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're supporting a team at the end of the day. I think it's always difficult commentating. It's actually something that you don't you sort of take for granted for the people that does it, for the people that do it. Sorry, and no, it's always funny listening to the boys commentating.
I suppose it's better to be on there than sat down there and not really doing anything watching the game, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you see it from a different sort of perspective as well. The game, you higher up and you can see the different angles. But like I said, it's always funny listening to the boys' comments during the game.
Have any of the lads come back in and given you a few pointers on what to do in different areas now they've seen it from a different angle?
No, I'm not going to listen to their points.
It's good to see the lads coming on though, isn't it, Liam? We had Rob Jones, of course, a former player at Sunderland on Saturday, but I think Tom is probably the fifth or sixth already this season that we've had on iFollow Rovers.
It's great insight from lads within the camp as well, but great to see that they actually really want to do it and really want to be part of it. I know you've had other people requesting to come on that you've had to let down, but yeah, it'd be great. I know how difficult it is myself. I've done it a couple of times, but it's great to see the lads putting their hand up.
And you mentioned that different angle of things there. It's things like set pieces that on the eye we wouldn't naturally see, but they know what the plans are when there's a certain routine going on, and they can offer that different insight. Yeah,
it's brilliant. That insight's fantastic. That's exactly what you want from a summariser, really. So they can pick up where the teammates are doing well, shall we say, or maybe not so well.
Danny's obviously been banging form on there. I'm sure he'd be keen to get back in the squad. Is it something that you've ever tried your hand at, Josh?
No, I can't say I have, to be honest. But no, to be fair to Danny, he was decent. And I think his strong accent really helped out the flow of it.
Of course, the last home game against Oxford was a good performance, a good result in the end as well, one that we had to really battle for. I know you were down here to watch that day as well. Against a team who were banging form, Rovers had to be bang at it themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, Oxford are a very good side, and they brought in some decent players, in January as well. So they were on a fantastic run of winning streak, and we brought the end to that here at Doncaster. So when we were talking earlier about getting back on track, I think just looking back on things like that, we should take massive confidence from that. Oxford are a very good side, and we beat them. It's what I mean. So we should take a lot of confidence from that.
Of course, iFollow is the only chance for Rovers to watch the games at present. You can imagine the fans running around the living room, kicking the TV when things aren't going right, can't you?
I know. I mean, it's obviously difficult that they can't come to the stadiums yet, but at least they got the opportunity to watch the games.
Of course, it's a decent opportunity for the fans. £10, of course, for a match pass for every game, but it does offer a different angle that you wouldn't see maybe even if you was in the ground.
Definitely. I know people that I've spoken to or you're in touch with during games offering a bit of a different, side of it. They see it in a different way, see things in a different way. It's interesting to have those conversations after a game and see exactly what people thought from those different angles.
Of course, the replays as well. There's a chance in the game where the fans only see it once and they might criticise a referee or suggest that something else should have been given. Once you've watched it back, maybe a chance to go, oh yeah, actually you're right. I think the biggest example probably on Saturday, the third goal for Sunderland looked a few yards offside. When you watch it back, there's probably one Rovers defender who's left the foot in too late, then stepped out, and that's when you see that the decision was perhaps the right one.
Yeah, I had a text within 30 seconds to tell me, oh yeah, we're onside, so that was a big help for me. But it is handy to have those replays.
Josh, were you watching on from home while you weren't playing on iFollow? Keeping in touch as much as you could, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a good opportunity for the people that can't come down to watch the game. And like you say, you get a different angles from something you don't. When you watch a game live, you only see that one chance. So it's always different watching it back home. And if you do miss a goal, you can see it back.
Fans, management and players alike disappointed with a result at Sunderland, of course. Darren Moore has challenged his players to get back to the standards that they've been previously setting themselves.
On this group, and we didn't feel that on Saturday that the standards that's been set in recent weeks, we felt we probably dipped below that standard really, and obviously we've been punished for it in the week really. So it just illustrates that it's important that we maintain high levels and standards that's been set and continue to do that, and certainly. What John said, we echo that really in terms of that. But we just have to get back at them and get working again like we have been doing, reset. And obviously, we've got another game to go on Wednesday and another tough challenge for us on Wednesday. The recruitment that they've got there, the players that they've got in and the recruitment that they have there is absolutely second to none and really, really good. And it's been a consistent improvement of them every single year in terms of actually maximising what they're about really, and John and Jimmy have really worked closely together and know each other's strengths, and they continue to build at the football club, and they've done an impressive job there, and they continue to do so. And we know come on Wednesday evening it's going to be another difficult game. I remember us playing them last season. It was a difficult game then really, and I envisage the same sort of encounter on Wednesday again.
Liam, after that Sunderland game, Darren Moore sort of suggested it was his most disappointing day in charge in terms of a result. and that says a lot, doesn't it? It takes a lot for him to say something like that.
Certainly does, and you can understand why. And there's not been that many over the 18 months that he's been charged. You can probably count them on one hand. Where there's been a performance as poor as that, as disappointing as that one. So you can understand it. Very, very uncharacteristic. I think that's the thing, and that's probably the thing that we can take positives from the fact that it wasn't Doncaster Rovers. The Doncaster Rovers would come to know and appreciate this season.
Josh, one of the manager's main quotes is that he won't get too high with the highs, he won't get too low with the lows. How important is that to have a manager like that? Even after a couple of defeats, you know he's still going to stay level-headed.
Yeah, and I think we've had meetings about the games yesterday and obviously the Fleetwood game. So we know where we stand and we know where we should be heading. The season's in our hands, kind of thing. And the manager's sort of reiterated that, and he said, just get back to how we were before. He knows the standards and he knows the quality that we have in this club, and so do we as players as well. So he's a fantastic manager, and I think he stays very sort of level-headed throughout the results that we've had. Even in the winning streak, he's sort of we've had a meeting about the game, and then it's right next game, and that's I think why we have been doing so well. I think, like you say, you can't get too high with the wins, and I think it's a massive thing because you can get carried away with yourself, and I think maybe we may have done in these last couple of games. Maybe that's why we sort of lost focus a little bit, but I'm sure we'll get straight back onto it.
Is that part of, you sort of have to accept that the results we've had are going to happen when you've got so many games in a short space of time? You are going to lose games in any season. Probably the fact that the games are so congested at present makes it look a little bit worse than it actually is. Yeah,
and I think we got used to winning, so like you just think you're never going to lose. So when you do finally get a defeat, it feels worse than what it maybe felt like before. So no, I think you're never going to go throughout the season winning constantly. So the loss was going to come eventually. I think as we've touched on, I think it was more of the fact how badly we did play. More so than the defeat itself. And I think it was just the bad performance. But flipping that, we're going to get back to winning ways and back to the performances.
Liam, in terms of Accrington, we've touched on them already. Got a really good draw against Lincoln from what we hear. They could have won it as well. But it's going to be a real good test again tonight, isn't it, for Darren Moore's side? There's
been some real battles with Accrington over the last few years that Rovers have played them on a regular basis. It's going to be tough. We know how well they've done this season, so it's going to be another difficult one. It's a difficult run of fixtures against sides that are right up there at the top of the table, and this one's no different.
Bizarre, when I was putting the match preview together the other night, Rovers haven't played Accrington since December 2019, and they've not moved leagues. Neither team has gone up, gone down. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, tremendous, these quirks that you've got with everything that's gone off over the last year.
In terms of the job that John Coleman's done, the budget he has as well, he'll be up there for manager of the season, won't he, if they carry on the way that they're going?
It should be, even if it doesn't really particularly lead to anything at the end of it. I mean, if they made it to the playoffs, it should be nailed on for it, because, as you said, they mentioned the budget. We know all about that. The owner is very open about things like that, and rightly so, and particularly when they've done such a good job on the back of it.
Josh, Rovers have, I think, the second best home form in the division. Of course, the next two games are at home. How important is it that we get back to winning ways and maybe try and build another run again?
Yeah, I think the next two games are massive against two very good teams, very different sides. But yeah, I think at home, I think we play with a lot of confidence. The pitch here is amazing, and the way that our style of play is, we pass, we open up teams, we dominate teams. So I think it really does benefit us playing on this fantastic surface. So that is the hard thing when you go away to some teams. Obviously, the standard of the pitch is nowhere near how it is at the Keepmoat. So maybe we have to play a little bit different. But yeah, here the pitch is fantastic, and it really does help us.
Josh, I won't ask you for a score prediction, but Liam, how do you see it playing out tonight?
I know I'm always positive when I come in here, but I do fancy Rovers to bounce back. I'm going to go for 1-0.
Liam, Josh, thank you for your company, and thank you at home for watching as well. Head over to iFollow Rovers now as Rovers take on Accrington Stanley from 7 p.m.